Hi, this is Josh with Retro TV One Tech, and today we're going to be trying something new called Retro Quick Bytes. And basically, just as the title suggests, it'll just be some quick things I'm working on, not necessarily scripted videos or anything in depth, but just something quick and retro that I'm working on that I thought would be fun to share. So today, we'll jump right into it with basically seeing if we can install this fairly modern SSD drive on this vintage Toshiba computer. Now, this computer is only about 23 years old or so, so it's not like super vintage, but this could be done really on any laptop, even from the 90s, if this works on here. So we're going to try it. So I've got this serial ATA or SATA hard drive. It's about 120 gigabytes, and so this should work on here. I think there's a limit of like 128 on these older computers, unless you do a little bit of modification. And then I have this basically serial ATA to 44-pin IDE adapter that is supposed to allow this drive to talk to this older computer. And then we're going to try and install Windows 98 on it and see if it works and play a couple games. So I won't show you the whole Windows 98 install process, but I will give you updates along the way and let you know how it's going and things like that. But otherwise, let's get this turned over and see what we can do. So on this particular computer, by the way, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video on this computer. This is probably my favorite, or one of my favorite retro laptops that I've picked up. It's a Toshiba 2805S 401, which doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, but if you've looked into retro laptops, this is one of the best ones. It's got an amazing Yamaha sound chip on it, and it's also got a really great graphics card on it, so it's great for playing retro games. And I've been playing around with some different things on it. I've got compact flash in it right now. As you can see, this is the one I installed Windows ME on. And so I tried that a couple times, and I've just been trying different things to see what works. But basically, I wanted to see if this serial ATA hard drive would work on there. The compact flash has not been the most reliable thing. It seems like it's corrupting data every once in a while on things, and maybe that's just my imagination. Maybe that's just drivers not working together, so we'll see. The compact flash has been working on my older computers. I've got a couple Toshiba Tecra 500 CDTs, which are Windows 95 machines. Been working on that, but not on this one. So I'm going to keep this. It's got Windows 98 installed on it. Nice thing about swapping out hard drives is you can just put it back in and everything should be as it was. But take this out for now, but you can see it's got this 44-pin interface on it. It's IDE, which is the older standard before the serial ATA. So I'm going to take this adapter and attempt to put that on right here. There we go. Just slides right in there, and hopefully this will fit in here. I've got to make sure I line up. There's actually a this may be where we have trouble. We'll see. There's actually a pin missing down here. I don't know if you can see it down there on the bottom. There it is right there in the middle. You can kind of see there's a pin missing. There's also a jumper down there. Hopefully we don't have to move that, but I need to line that up with the pin that's missing from the adapter itself. So that might be a little bit of an issue as far as getting this to fit. Yeah. All right, so I did a little bit of checking, and it is not going to fit on that machine because basically I would need these pins to be down here on the bottom, because the connector is at the very bottom of the case, and so I would need it to sit like this. Now this part, the serial ATA connector is fine, but this IDE connector is not in the right place. So I'm going to try a different drive, see if it works, or a different computer, see if it works better. And if not, may just send this back and see if they've got maybe a different one that's a little bit differently configured. So back to the drawing board for now. All right, we're going to try it in this Toshiba Tecra 500 CDT and see if it will work in there. Now this has got a hard drive caddy, so it'll be interesting to see if it works in this configuration. Let's see here. Slide that off. Let's see if we can get that to, see if we can get this to fit this way. There we go, slide that out. I believe, if I remember, it just slides right out this way. Oh, there's even a convenient little handle there just to slide it right out of there. Now this one, pull the camera down so you can see a little better. This one has an interesting connector in here. It's actually got its own, there you can see it on the side there. It's actually got its own proprietary connector in there that actually hooks up to this right here, this hard drive caddy, this tray. So I'll have to take that apart and see if I can get it to fit in there. All right, so we just take these screws off. It's kind of funny the way this is put together. After the screws come out, the whole thing just kind of falls apart, and you have to be really careful how it all goes together. So this comes off. This might work because you can kind of see already how it's put together here. So something like that. There we go. This part comes apart, and that's it. There we go. I had it together tighter than I thought I did. That's good. The biggest thing is, right now, there is actually a compact flash card in there. Very same adapter I had in the other computer. These work really well. They're like 15 bucks on Amazon. And actually what's interesting is this looks like a very similar adapter to what I'm using to get the serial ATA to connect over here. So this, you know, these look similar in some ways. Circuit boards are different colors, but let's see if it works together. It may be too much space in there for it to work together. That's my only concern, so we'll see. All right, so first step is to gently remove this, and we can put this in here and making sure to line it up correctly with where the missing pin is. So the missing pin is up here. It's on the bottom here. So there we go. This is the way it works. Okay, so perfect. So that's going to make it extra tall when I put it together. That's not the way I was hoping it would work. I was kind of hoping they'd switch. It looks like they made this adapter backwards, honestly. Probably just a cheaply made thing. I just have to look for another one and just remember that it needs to be configured the other way. But this one has a little more flexibility. I may actually just be able to plug this in here and not put the caddy in with it and see if it just works. Actually, I think I will. Let's try that real quick. And to be clear, this is not my plan for a long-term solution for this computer. I think I'm going to stick with the compact flash just because of the way this is designed in here. I want to take a flashlight and just make sure I've got this connection correct here. All right, well, I'll just prop the laptop up a little bit so I can just try it and see if it works just for fun. All right, so I've got these cute little floppy disk coasters. They're not actually floppy disks, they're just rubber pieces, so nothing's going to be hurt, but I'm going to put these right here under the computer as I set it up, and that way, hopefully, it won't sit too hard. Need them over there, actually. It won't sit too hard on that hard drive or anything like that and damage that adapter at all. There we go. Perfect. All right. So, yes, this is janky, but, you know, just something fun. So, no computers were harmed yet in the making of this video. All right, so I've got my external floppy here because I need that in order to actually be able to start the computer. We'll go from there. I'm actually going to try Windows 98 on this, even though it was designed for 95, because, you know, why not? The driver should work for both either way. So let's just see what happens. Let's see if this computer will even recognize this. It actually had a Windows NT partition on it, and so it's going to be a little confused probably, but I did clean off the disk partitions using DiskPart on Windows 10, so it should be a completely clear drive right now. Let's just see what happens. Nothing yet. It might be very confused. It should be trying to boot from the disk though. It's probably trying to boot from the hard drive and it's probably really confused. Okay, so let me do a Control-Alt-Delete and hold down Escape as I do that. That's not going to work. Okay, so let's turn it off. I think if I hold down Escape as I turn it on, it should force the BIOS to come on. All right, we're going to try it again while holding Escape and see if I can get the BIOS to come up. Maybe. There we go. I think it beeped at me. It is not happy with that at all. Alright, my next step was to remove the battery and see if I can get it to do something. Hopefully it'll pull up the BIOS now and I can pick floppy disk boot. Maybe. Nope. Okay, so that didn't work, so I'm back a couple days later with a different adapter. This is the adapter that I was trying, and you can see how the circuit board is vertically oriented with the two sides of the connector, or two different connectors on each side of the circuit board. And this new one that should work is horizontally oriented. Now, I'm concerned about it fitting space-wise, but this one actually specifically said on Amazon that it was for laptops, so I don't know if that is any different than the one we had before. The other one just said 44-pin IDE, which I thought would work on a laptop. But anyway, let's try this one in my Toshiba 2805 laptop over here, and we'll see if it works. So I've already removed the compact flash from here that I was using, and it's ready to go. I'm going to probably end up putting it back in anyway, but I just wanted to try this and see if it would work. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure I don't have any issues with this, the good thing is too, see, if you remember earlier in the video, I could not use this other adapter because of the way the missing pin was oriented. It was oriented such that I needed, you see the missing pins on the bottom there, I would need to put it face down in the laptop, and because of the way this connector is right here, it wasn't going to work. But here, this one, this missing pin is oriented this way, which means I can put it in this way, and then the serial ATA or SATA connector is going to be in the right orientation. So let me get that down in there, and we'll see if it works. Make sure I line up all the pins so I don't bend anything. There we go. That feels about right. I'll just give it a little push. You'll notice I'm not doing this with the drive attached because I don't want to put extra stress on this connector here, pushing everything at the same time, because it does take a little bit of pressure to get that to work. And already I can see that it's going to be too long. I was thinking it probably would be. I'm going to try it anyway, just for fun, and see what happens. But, you know, yeah, so I don't know. The connector is so long that I'm just not sure how any drive would fit in here. Let me know in the comments if you know of any the SSDs, the SATA SSDs or SATA SSD drives that will work, that would be a little bit shorter. I really just need them about a centimeter or a centimeter, maybe 2 centimeters shorter here. And what's funny is if I really wanted to take this drive apart, I probably could chop this part off, but I don't really want to do that because I think a lot of this is just extra plastic to make it fit. And the thing is, without this adapter, this drive would fit perfectly, but without the adapter, of course, they won't talk because they're totally different interfaces. So anyway, let's flip it over and just see if it turns on, and then we'll try some F-disk on it. All right, so I've got all this ready to go here. And again, I really like this laptop. I'm going to do a whole video on it soon, but I've got the Windows 98 boot disk in the A drive over here, and I've got a little bit those rubber floppy coasters just to make sure that it's padded under there a little bit because it's sitting awkwardly. So this is not a long-term solution. This is just a let's see if this works because, you know, we're just playing around here. So turn it on and we'll see if we can get something to work. All right, here we go. I've got the screen dimmed a little bit so you can see, or rather the exposure is lowered so you can see the screen a little better. See, now already this computer has accessed the floppy. That's a good sign. Let's see if it boots. Yay, starting Windows 98. Okay, this might actually have worked. So we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and boot it with CD-ROM. I haven't even put the CD-ROM in yet. But that way we'll just have it ready to go just in case. Going through the CD-ROM drivers. So nostalgic. Used to start up our old 486 and Pentium computers. Had those type of CD-ROM drivers in there. You had to have it to make it work. All right, so right now you see here it's got drive C as the CD drive because the hard drive isn't valid yet because we have to F-disk it. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do F-disk. Okay, I guess we want to enable large drive support. Definitely allowing disks over 2 gigabytes to be formatted as a single drive. Um, and I don't think it'll still, this is a 128 gig drive. I don't think it'll use all of it, but we'll see what happens. All right, so we're going to create a DOS partition, create a primary DOS partition. It's going to verify integrity. So it's a big drive, so it's going to take a minute. We'll be back when it's done. All right, almost done. Super excited that it actually detected the disk. So much better than last time. So yay, it actually works. I was worried it wouldn't get through that verification process, but it did. So we're going to use the maximum allowable size, and it's going to do the verification again here. But wow, that's so cool. So I can't believe this actually worked, even though it's just kind of sitting here right below the computer. So I'll have to find a shorter drive to put in there, or maybe just a whole different form factor or something to make this work. But I'm just thinking the SSD is going to be more stable in the long run, since it's made for lots of reads and writes, whereas this this compact flash card is great, but it's more made for, you know, not as many reads and writes, because it's made more for pictures and long-term storage, more like a USB drive or something like that. So we'll have to see if there's a way to find another drive that's more easily written on several times. So it looks like this is almost done. I was able to just keep talking to you through it, right? It's my specialty, I guess. And let me know again what you think of these videos. It's just super fun to just, you know, relax and enjoy some retro, and nothing really edited, but just kind of like, hey, I'm playing around with this. Check it out. All right. So I do have to restart, like it says. I'm going to do the old-fashioned Control, Alt, and Delete, which is super fun. And we should have the CD-ROM now boot as drive D, because this C drive should be the hard drive. And we'll probably have to format it, but we'll do that. We'll see if we can get it to work. Okay, I had to turn the machine off completely, but now it's working. Worried me a little bit because it froze on a Control-Alt-Delete. So maybe it just has to be a whole restart. And of course, laptops don't have a reset button, so just had to turn it off. There we go. Sweet. All right, so I'm going to install Windows 98 on this thing. See how it works. That's awesome. Get my CD ready here. I lost my original Windows 98 CD a long time ago, but I did buy it at one point, so don't feel too bad about using this disk. All right, so let's see what the C drive. Let's see what the C drive is doing. Ah, it actually is a valid drive now. And of course, it'll say, "Oop, okay, invalid media type." So we're okay. So we do need to format. So let's go back to A drive, and we're going to format C. We can just say /S to transfer the system over there. Let's see if it'll do it. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy setting up computers. It's just something, you know, it wasn't as easy back then as it is now. It's a lot easier now just to put it on a USB and just kind of let Windows do its job. Good. All data on non-removable disk C will be lost. Yes, this is what we want to do. Oh, look, it's formatting 48.9 gigabytes. Okay. So 48.9 gigabytes, so about 50 gigabytes out of 128. So that's a strange limit. I'm not sure why it did that, because I would think it would have been like an even number or something, like, you know, or something based on 8, like 64 or something. So I'm not sure why it stopped at that. That may just be as much as this computer's BIOS is able to handle, but either way, that's way more data than what I'll need. And this is just a spare drive, so I don't care that it's formatting it for less capacity than it actually has. So, all right, we'll be back in a second when this is finished formatting. All right, we're almost done here. Like I said, I had to clear this SSD off using diskpart on Windows 10 to clear off the Windows partitions on it from Windows 10, because obviously it wouldn't work with that particular version. It needs to be FAT32 for DOS, so, or for Windows, I should say, it's FAT32. So it's calculating free space. This may take several minutes. Wow. So it may end up with more, actually. So we'll see. All right, let's just call it Retro TV 1. There we go. Oh, interesting. When it formatted it, it came up with the whole usable disk space. Look at that, 114 gigabytes there. So that's pretty close to what I was getting on Windows 10. Actually, maybe a little bit more. I think on the Windows 10 partition, it had like 111, which is NTFS file system, if you don't know. Modern systems use NTFS, which is Windows NT file system. Modern versions of Windows are based on Windows NT, whereas this is based on DOS and FAT16 or FAT32, and I believe Windows 98 was FAT32. So yay, so let's see, it should say command.com is there, which is the main, if we type command, it's the main Windows 98 system interpreter there, so that's cool. So yeah, so that's the only thing on there right now. So if we go to the D drive, we're going to put our CD in there, and we should be able to install Windows. Yay! Got my CD in. Let's do a directory, make sure it's all there and accessible. Yeah, this is totally useless, but I really want to see too if Windows 98 is any faster on this setup than it is on the compact flash. It's still going to have to translate the SATA SSD or SATA, serial ATA, to the IDE interface through that little adapter that I bought, but either way, it's a useful little adapter if I can find a shorter drive. So, all right, let's do a little setup. There we go, routine check on the system. Sure, go for it, Windows. Listen to that CD drive. I've got it plugged in. This computer has a working battery now, which is super awesome. I bought one at a computer parts wholesaler that I found online that's actually here in Florida. So they've got a lot of these old stock or recycled or remanufactured batteries, and super awesome to be able to have a battery in this thing. But of course, when you're installing Windows, you want to be plugged in so it doesn't mess up. And also that CD, you can hear it, it's like acts like it's going to take off and go to the moon. So you definitely want to be able to have your power plugged in for that. You might notice the text looks weird. I've got this set to screen stretch because it just looks better, except for that it doesn't scale the text very well, but you know, it's an old system, it's okay. Looks good on everything else. I will have to install all the drivers and everything else, but we'll do all that. Now I'm not gonna make you sit through the whole Windows 98 install. We've done this several times on different videos, and I'm sure you kind of know what Windows 98 setup looks like. So I'll just check in every once in a while with you and start and stop the video, and you can see parts of it. I'll show you this part because it's always fun. So I always just do custom, and then I want to like select everything. So I like all the media files on there. So what I do is I just uncheck it and then check it to make sure I have everything. Like some of these are like grayed out like communications, so just check and uncheck. Or I should say uncheck and check. That's desktop themes. Oh, let me close that. Okay. Internet tools, sure, why not? I don't really need multi-language support. Let's see, multimedia, we want all that. That's all like the MIDI files and stuff. Everything else is here. We don't really need Outlook Express, but here, let's check and uncheck system tools. It was funny back in the day when they were first doing Windows 98, you know, everybody had very limited hard drive space, so we don't need web TV, but every little bit counted. So 329 megabytes was a lot because a lot of the hard drives were just barely a gigabyte. So every little bit was important. But here, of course, we're just have astronomical amounts of disk space. So, all right, it's going to start copying files. Sweet. This is where it tells you how wonderful Windows 98 is and how excited you should be to have it. It was exciting at the time. You know, Windows 98, Windows 95 was first in this genre of Windows, the Windows 9X series, and it was exciting. All right, we're a little over halfway done copying the files. It says it's going to be 22 minutes. I think that's for everything, like all the registry setup and hardware setup and everything else. So we'll see. All right, all finished. Here we go. Let's restart and see what happens. Getting ready to run Windows for the first time. Oh, it's so exciting. All right, here we go. User information. All right, we got it. This is where it's detecting the non-plug-and-play hardware. If the progress indicator stops for a long time and there is no disk activity, please restart your computer. Like, that's kind of scary in the middle of a Windows 98 setup, but I remember that happening on systems that I've worked on before. I think for one of my grandparents' computers, we had to restart it, and finally we got it to work somehow. But setting up these old operating systems, not a picnic, especially back in the day when they were first coming out. Stuff just didn't always work, and there wasn't just somebody you could call right away and ask a lot of times. All right, ready to restart. Let's see what happens. I have this USB thumb drive that I'm going to use, and so we'll see if it works with Oh, there we go. We'll see if it works without any configuration. Technically, Windows 98 USB drivers are not great, so I have drivers on a disk already set up, but I'll need the USB drive to put all the laptop specific drivers from Toshiba on there to get the video and audio set up and stuff. I just want to get it set up a little bit, play a couple games on it, and then I think this will be the end of this video, but I want to see how fast it starts up with this SSD, if it's any faster or if it's about the same as compact flash. I would expect it to be faster, but I have no idea how fast this adapter is that's plugged into it and how fast it's, it is translating information, so there could be a little bit of a slowdown from that. Whereas compact flash doesn't really have to translate. Compact flash is actually by default IDE with a different pinout, so we'll see. All right. So luckily, it retained the system date and time pretty closely there. So we can keep that set the way it is. Although we are not in Pacific time, so I need to fix that. We're not in Indiana either, though, technically. I used to select Indiana. There's another one just for Eastern time. This doesn't really matter, but I like to set it right. I don't know why. Makes me happy. Maybe this drum thing, like sometimes this drum would be on there forever. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to do anything? It's basically like updating the registry right now, so that's why it takes so long. Well, it just kind of sat there for a long time, and now it's finally moving again. And of course, it's moving way faster on this drive and on the compact flash than it ever would have on a standard hard drive. This is when you'd think that the hard drive was having a conniption. It would just be like making all those hard drive clicky noises all the time through this whole setup, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, is it going to be okay? You see we have 3 minutes left according to the countdown there, and it's probably 2 minutes. It's probably going to be less than that, actually. There it goes. Yeah, all right, cool. Who knows what it's doing during those time periods, but it's doing something, and must have been important, I'm sure. Cool. Now there won't be any sound, and the screen will be the wrong size, but it'll be like 16 colors. It'll be the basic monitor driver, the plug and play, and the basic sound card and everything. Basic video card. Well, no sound card and basic video card, so it'll be all messed up, but all good. If you don't enter a password, you won't get this prompt at startup. Remember when Windows didn't make you have a password? Every time it does this, it has a plug and play monitor, and it's like this whole searching for hardware thing is the very worst part of Windows 98 because it will search all these random places. I'll have it search CD because that's where Windows 98 is, but it'll have it search all these random places, and you can tell it where something is like twice in a row, and it will not remember. So like I'll show it where this one is, and then it'll do plug and play monitor again for the external monitor that can be connected to the computer, and it will still ask me where it is. It doesn't remember anything, and it doesn't just like say, oh, this is a plug and play monitor. Let me just go ahead and put that in there. No, it'll totally make you select it again. See, here it comes. Maybe? Wow, it's really updating the system settings a lot. But hey, I'm really excited it's working, honestly. I just think it's funny how, oh, okay, so maybe it'll do the plug and play monitor the next time. Usually it does too. Either way, normally there's sound here. We'll hear that next time once I get all the drivers installed. All right, cool. So I want to see if I plug in this USB drive, if it actually works on its own or if I need to put the drivers in for it. Okay, I have it plugged in. I love it. It's a Geek Squad drive from Best Buy, so it's like this wizard searches for new drivers for Geek Squad. All right, so here we go. I was unable to locate a driver. So yeah, in that case, I think I do need to install something. It's weird because it didn't even try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install the drivers from the driver program disk. It is cool, though. I will say, if you're going to get a retro laptop, try and get one. It's kind of the sweet spot where it still has DOS sound compatibility, which this one does, but that it also has USB, because you can use USB for a lot of things. Easy transfer of files between computers, of course. But the other thing is, too, you can plug in a joystick, which is super cool because you can use a lot of USB joysticks, even from modern computers in Windows 98. They don't all work. I actually had one from Windows 98 that I use on this one that still has drivers for Windows 98 on it, which is cool. Those are kind of rare, but a lot of times you can use a generic driver on a newer joystick if it's USB. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, these are generic USB drivers I found on the net. The file name, if you need to search for it, is nusb36e.exe. It's kind of hard to see, but that's the file name if you need to search for it. We really take Windows 10 for granted. Like literally, you set up Windows 10, and the first time you restart it, it's like I figured everything out. And if it doesn't have a driver for something, of course, it connects right to the internet and it just figures it out. Okay, so this loads way faster on this SSD. It's like lightning fast. I need to figure out a way to make this permanent. Wow, like every time I load this, I'm just noticing how much faster it is. Oh, it wants that. It wants that floppy in there. That's funny. Here you go. Okay, I don't know that it really needs that, but we'll see. Okay, hopefully everything worked on that. So I should be able to just plug this in and it should just work. It doesn't have it on there yet. I may have to wait a second for it to configure it as a disk drive. Sometimes it takes a little extra effort to make that happen. All right, let's try a restart and see if that'll do it. If not, I think I have the Toshiba drivers handy. I can use those. Maybe they'll work better. Either way, still can't believe how fast this is. All right, let me remove the USB again so I can get a fresh insertion there. Because the problem is it's labeled as a mass storage device, but it hasn't given it a drive letter yet. Wow. We were really missing out not having SSD drives back then. It's really fast. Of course, we'll see once I install the programs and stuff on it if it's truly that fast or not. All right, let's see if this will work with the USB. This video is longer than I thought it was going to be, but still fun to mess around with all this stuff. Okay, there we go. I just plugged it back in and it came up with the thing for USB disk, so you do have to restart it a couple times. Windows 98 was notorious for needing a lot of restarts to get things to work, but it just came up with USB disk and I didn't even push record fast enough because it was so fast. Hey, there we go. Removable disk E. Perfect. So now we should have everything we need here. Cool. There we go. All right, so it's right here. So we should be able to get video drivers working and go from there. All right, so I won't make you sit through this whole process. We're going to get some video and audio drivers working, and we'll be back when the computer is a little bit more presentable and ready to go. All right, we're getting closer. Here we go. Nice. Listen to the sound. Yes. Nice. So much faster. Wow. If anybody remembers that when Windows 98 used to start. This laptop, by the way, has a subwoofer in it, which is just insane. So I don't want to show too much of this because I'm going to be definitely showing this on a whole separate video. But just a little peek at it here. Let's see if we can get Commander Keen to work here, and hopefully the Sound Blaster sound works on it. See, the game works and it looks great. Make sure we're using AdLib sound. Sound Blaster AdLib, same thing. Use keyboard. Good. Okay. Let's see if we can get it to work. Yeah, there you go. Sound is soft. I need to pull it up in the settings. Such a fun game. I actually want to play this more. But wow, that was like a violent death there. He really hopped a lot. Anyway, so fun. I'm not gonna go in there. You can go down and you can go through the. I love how I ended up right on top of the slug there and it didn't kill me. You can go all the way down to the bottom level and go over the pits of acid and all that fun stuff, but I believe there's something else. Yeah, okay, that's where it comes up there. Anyway, fun stuff. Yay! Alright. And I gotta show you one more, and this will be a teaser. Probably not as many people will watch this video as they will the one where I do this whole laptop on a little bit more prepared video, but this is insane. Duke Nukem 3D, the sound on this. Let me turn up the volume here a little bit. This should help. Yeah, so everything's a little bit low. So wave out needs to be higher. There we go. And MIDI out, I'll just control with the down just a little bit. I'll just control it with the volume control on the computer itself. Okay, that should be better. So Duke Nukem 3D, it actually acts like a sound canvas, a Roland sound canvas. If you know what that is, it's a really, really amazing device. So let me make sure, hopefully we have the right setup here, but it should be fine. Okay, sound setup. Yep, all 32 sound canvas. It's already set up from my previous setup. Let me see if it's on the right IRQs. It actually needs to be on IRQ 5. That should be fine. DMA 1, perfect. Okay, here we go. Now let me do the screen. Oops, let me do the screen setup. I'm gonna use 800 by 600 because that will look better. And here we go. Check out the sound on this real quick. That's why this laptop is absolutely amazing. Just sounds incredible, and of course it runs really well. All the graphics are fantastic. You know, for this era, obviously. Not anything modern, but anyway. Listen to that. This would have been a pretty impressive machine to have back in the day. Let me make sure the bass boost is on. Oh yeah, it was, okay. Pretty cool. Last thing I want to try is a couple restarts just to see how fast it truly is. I've got everything. I'm actually going to disconnect the USB from it now as well. I've actually got everything disconnected, so it should be just a regular boot here. We'll do a restart and then we'll do a cold boot. Yeah, it's really fast. I actually wondered if there'd be some of the speed lost in translation, but it's way faster than the compact flash, which is the compact flash is already way faster than the standard hard drive, of course, because it doesn't have to seek anything. All the data is just there on the chips. Wow. Yeah, that's really fast. I love how it goes. That's awesome. All right, let's try a cold boot. Wow. Super quick shutting down. All right, cold boot time. Man, I really wish there was a way I could leave this in here, but I can't leave it hanging out like that. So just to find a small SSD drive then, I guess. Wow. So awesome. All right, cool. Well, I think that's about all for now for this first Retro Quick Bytes video. We hope you've enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Again, please be sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of these shorter videos, or at least less scripted videos. We'll keep doing them because I just enjoy playing with this retro tech, and I hope you enjoy maybe taking a walk down memory lane. So we'll see you next time. So for now, enjoy that tech and keep it retro.